To add to that, 81,000 workers in the mining industries will be needed. So right now, when I say mining industry, that means we're going to be competing with BC. We already know that we're competing with Saskatchewan and Manitoba. 100,000 workers or more will be required in the IT industry, and I'm sure that Javier can shed more light on this. And 100,000 workers in the environmental sector, because the workers currently in that sector are set to retire. So when we look at the economic impact of these facts, diversity doesn't just make sense, it's critical. And with the changes in the immigration process that are starting in January 2015, with the express entry process, if we collectively are not ready to understand how we can differentiate ourselves and attract this talent, and more importantly, retain the Peruvian engineer so that he or she does not go back to the mining exploration in northern Peru or the oil and gas exploration, that is the business case. That is the ROI. I'm very, very glad that Anne-Marie referred to the Employment Equity Act. How many of you in the room currently are subject to the act? 2. So a quick tip, because we don't have time to go into many details of how to do certain tactics, let's say. What if we all decided to adopt the Employment Equity Act as our guiding light in terms of implementing diversity? There is absolutely no reason that it needs to be legislated. It just makes good business sense. How many of you on your website currently, at this moment, have a tab that says, foreign trained professionals, welcome? That's what I thought. Doesn't take much. Even I figured out how to create a tab on our website. Simple measures, welcoming measures that state an intention. Not always is public policy required. We can, from an initiative, from a private sector, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, we can start to declare our intention that we welcome diversity, that we have strategies internally at the corporate level that sustain diversity and, more importantly, promote diversity. So I don't want to take any further of your time. You will hear from the rest of the panel some very enlightening comments, and certainly we're all here to answer any questions later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicole. And next is Jamie from CLIP, the Calgary Local Immigration Partnership.
Thank you, Emery Pham. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the business case for our community, because as Nicole elegantly told you what the business case is for business, for including immigrants into the workforce, there are many more benefits. And I know TD Bank is today our sponsor, and I think the banks in Canada have done an amazing job. And this is was unfortunate to mention, it's a Royal Bank report that almost a decade ago already said if all immigrants were working using their skills and expertise, it would add conservatively 13 billion to our economy. Now, if that's not a benefit, I don't know what is. We also have a local report, and it's actually one commissioned by the Immigrant Access Fund that looked at if we invest in immigrants, and the Immigrant Access Fund gives microloans to immigrants to requalify for their jobs. If we invest in that, and loans, of course, are paid back. So simply in the administration of the loans, it has an annual rate of return of 33%. So if these are not benefits, from including immigrants in the workforce, what are? But I want to go a little bit beyond numbers. You know, at my employer and partner of CLIP, United Way, we talk about a great city for all. And a great city for all means that we're working for those who do not have a great life, for those who are maybe at the margins of our community and cannot have access to the opportunities that we all have. We have an incredibly rich community, an incredibly rich city with huge opportunities. But we all know there's people who are not part of those opportunities. And unless we continuously work to include those people in our opportunities, it's not going to be a great city. So it's a win-win situation. It's not when we say immigrants are coming to take our jobs, that is not true. We know it's a win-win situation. If people in the margins, and immigrants are just one of those groups, if we include them, we all do better. And we know immigrants come to build a better life for themselves and their families. And employment opportunities is an incredibly important start. So if we include immigrants in our communities, if we include them in our workplaces, what are some of the simple benefits? Well, first of all, if you are in the workplace, you integrate much faster. You know, can you imagine when you are in a different country, if you speak a new language every day, if you're part of people who teach you the culture of that country, if they include you in your workplace, your pace of integration is much faster. And your sense of belonging to this country, which is very important, grows day by day. Now, confident people raise confident children. And a lot of immigration is about building new workforces. We're very scared, as Nicole said, we don't have the workforce. There's so many people retiring, we don't have the young people. So immigrants too, they raise kids that are our future workforce. If the parents are well integrated in the workforce, the youth will do so much better. Moreover, people volunteer. When you have a job and you're integrated, you also volunteer, you give back. And you'll see that the rate of volunteerism of immigrants is very, very high. They are in our community associations, they are in our boards, they are helping out anywhere they can. So that's a great example, not only for themselves, but they also help other newcomers. The number of immigrants who have made it here are always helping new immigrants settle, and they do a great job in that. They also get more integrated and they vote in the political process. We know that sometimes when we see in Calgary that we have 30% voter turnout, that is pretty sad. You know, immigrants in the workforce, immigrants that are well integrated and have a sense of belonging are more part of our political process. And they're voting, they're running for political office, and the more people we actually have involved in our community, in our political process, the better off we are, because people contribute that way. And of course, what are the most exciting cities in the world? The ones that have like the Globalfest, the ones that have ethnic festivals, restaurants, stores. You know, immigrants that are integrated and are willing to come to our country bring so much more. They build exciting cities, cities where everybody wants to come. Now, of course, I see all of you, well, how can I sign up? What can I do? So thank you for the question. Many of you work in HR, so what can you do? Well, have you maybe thought about signing your organization up as part of a mentoring program? Sign up your employees as mentors for new immigrants. You'll find that it pays off in way more than just volunteering. You actually have access to an incredible talent pool. And you'll find that actually you will learn more than you ever thought. In your communities, have you thought about, you know, if somebody new comes in, go say hello. You know, how would you feel if you moved to a country where you don't know anybody? What would you like that people did to you? Would you like somebody to come and welcome you and maybe explain you where the grocery store is or how to put a garbage outside on the right day. We've all been in those situations. So it's from very simple things that you can do. You know, the Calgary Public Library runs some incredible programs where you can be a volunteer for a conversation program. Look into those. A couple of my colleagues from the immigrant sector are here. Talk to them. There are so many places where you can help and volunteer as a person, as an organization. So thank you. It is not the big things that matter. It's very often little things and the thoughts that matter. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jimmy. That was great. And next we have Javier Lozano, who's our Technology Executive, VP and Chief Information Officer of the Calgary Airport Authority.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Good morning, everyone. So at the beginning of the event, I asked you to participate in this experiment. And I told you that with less than 40 tweets, we were able to reach about 9,000 people. I just look at the stats, and with just a minutes of work, we've been able to reach over 30,000 people already. So what I'm trying to say is that what you do really matters. How many of you have a smartphone today with you? Okay. So that means that you're connected, and you're connected all the time. And what you do with that device can go across the world in just seconds. What you say through that device is affecting people, is affecting their lives, is affecting everything that they do. So you're an agent of change, and you need to take that very seriously. So what I tried to do today is to give you an idea of what happens inside the executive room. What are the things that we need to do and be aware of when we talk to the executive people about diversity, about multiculturalism? And it's one of the most difficult things to do because they're busy people. They're always thinking about certain things, and their mind is very narrow on objectives for their organization because that's their job. So what I want to do is give you an idea of what's going on in the world right now and try to provide some examples on how to do that and share my story with the organization as well. So at this very second right now, we just uploaded 48 hours of video on YouTube. We just spent over $270,000 this very second as well. By the end of next year, Facebook will be larger than China. And if you think about those things, it means that the world has changed and the speed of movement is so fast. It's so important to be aware of that we cannot just say, I'm going to step out and let the world pass by, because by the time I'm back into that train, it will be too late. So one of the things that we need to do, if we want to be those agents of change, is to get in their mind, is to speak their language. And we talk about language here because we all have different backgrounds. And language is very important, and context is very important. So we need to understand what matters to them. What are the things that are important for them as individuals and for their organizations? So what I'm trying to do today is to help you with some tips on how to get in their minds. And I'm going to use 3 examples of things that we're trying to do right now at the Airport Authority. I'm going to try to align that with some experiences that I've been using throughout this past almost a year that I've been here in Calgary with the Airport Authority. So I'm going to talk about 3 things. The first one is growth. We're growing at the Airport Authority, and it's very visible. The second one is engagement. And today we've been talking about engagement throughout this morning. And the last one is innovation, because there's not a single executive for any organization that is not thinking about innovation. And it's because of the speed of change that we're going through right now. So your responsibility is, as mine as well, to be better storytellers. We all are storytellers, and we need to get better at it. That's the way to connect with people today. We need to tell the story 1 time, 100 times, 1,000 times, until it finally clicks on people. And that's what we need to do, to refine the story, to make sure that we understand all the ins and outs, all the questions, that we can predict everything that is happening in that person's mind, so we can address those questions and drive basically that awareness, because with awareness comes desire. So if growth is one of the biggest concerns for every executive, every era has breakthrough innovations. If you look at the stats right now, more than 40% of today's Fortune 500 companies were founded by immigrants or their children. 40%. You can do the math. And every organization is facing competition. And competition today is not coming from the traditional competitor. It's not coming from your region. It's not coming from the same guy or same organization in your industry. It's coming from the outside. So you have to start thinking different about that. Because you've been disrupted by a company like Uber that is taking on all the cabs around the world, or Airbnb that is taking over all the hotel industry as well, or Apple, who suddenly and overnight took down a company like BlackBerry, which we're very proud of. So it's about individuals sharing everything in a completely new, different way. So it's important for any executive to understand how that new world really works. And who's going to explain that? Who's going to tell them what are the things that those new communities really need and appreciate and value? Well, it's not going to be the same people that they have in their organizations. They need to start reaching out, bringing new knowledge, new understanding, new experiences, and embrace that diversity. Because guess what? The people on Facebook, the people on Twitter, the people that are talking about their organizations every day are not the ones inside the worlds. So they need to bring that knowledge inside the organization. They have no choice. The second part is that we're not alone anymore in our decisions. That we need to share, that we need to build value through common understanding and engagement. If we try to do it alone, we're going to end up like Kodak, right? Who thought that cameras were already invented, that no one was going to be able to innovate anything like that. And guess what? Apple, a computer manufacturer, took them down entirely and made them disappear. So we need to challenge assumptions. We cannot believe that we know everything. Just a few weeks ago, I was in San Francisco, and I was talking to Diane Finghausen. She is the director for innovation, open innovation at GE.